This is Montgomery Mosaic on 1450 WOL, WPRS HD2, and worldwide on WOLDCnews.com. Montgomery Mosaic features topics of interest to Montgomery County residents, businesses, and visitors. Here now are your hosts, Deborah Milo and Ron Thompson.
Ron, it's good to see you this morning. How are you doing?
I'm great. It's good to see you as well.
Listen, today we're privileged to have with us Montgomery County Executive Isaiah Leggett. Mr. Leggett, welcome back. You helped us to launch this radio show last October, and it's a pleasure to welcome you back.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be back.
We celebrated Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday in January, and I know you had the pleasure of meeting Dr. King many years ago. I also know from our earlier interview that that encounter had a profound effect on you. So recently you visited a school, talked to students about Dr. King's legacy and the civil rights movement. Tell us more about that and what points you made to the young students.
Well, I recounted the time that I had an opportunity to visit and see him and to hear him, and I reflected the fact that I was somewhat surprised when he walked out on the stage. It was somewhat unusual because Dr. King has this booming, beautiful, loud voice, and you would have the imagination that he's a huge person, and in reality he's a relatively short person. I said, well, wait a minute, I'm not sure this is him. Maybe he's going to introduce Dr. King.
Right.
And the thing that was so profound was that when he was talking, there were probably 500 or 600 people in the audience. I thought he was talking directly to me. I mean, I thought I was the only person to whom he was directly talking to. It had such a profound impact on me that I think it reassured me in terms of things that I was doing as a student in the civil rights movement, the things that I think that he stood for. And what I tried to do in this presentation with the students is to, in effect, let them know of his legacy, his complete life, the moral, the ethical things that he stood for, the need, as well as the progress we've made since his death.
So how did the young people respond to that? Were they engaging? Did they ask a lot of questions?
They're very engaging. I visited the entire school, but I spoke individually to a particular class within the school, a select group of students within the school. They were very much engaged because they've come up at a time where they've had an opportunity to see Dr. King, to hear his message, and to have the kind of dialogue that we have about Dr. King and his life that I think is very, very helpful for many young people. So they are very, very familiar with Dr. King. The challenge that we have, and it was part of the African American History Month, is that they do not have what I call a complete array of many other leaders throughout the movement. And certainly Dr. King was a leader of that movement, but I want students to know about all the other people, many who sacrificed their lives and worked so hard for the rights and privileges these young people have today.
Absolutely. I know that the county's Positive Youth Development Initiative is a program that's near and dear to your heart, and one you place a lot of value in as far as reaching out to at-risk youth who might otherwise be pressured to engage in some activities that they shouldn't. You know, it's really tough to be a teenager during today. Can you tell us a little about what this initiative has accomplished and how it's helped our youth population?
Well, our youth really are challenged today in so many different ways. If you look at the time between 4 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon to 7 o'clock in the evening, this is the most vulnerable time for young people. They're out of school. They do not have the parents oftentimes back at home at that period of time. Many of them are idle, and they get into trouble most often between those hours. So what we've tried to do with part of the Positive Youth Initiative is to try to provide wholesome, positive activities for our young people, homework clubs, after-school sports activities, mentorship programs, all designed to provide a positive spin on what young people are doing. It also extends into the summer, and it extends to meals during the summer. So it's an entire array of services and programs that are academically, athletically, but more importantly, positively devoted toward our young people, because our students, our young people, are at risk, especially between the hours of 4 in the afternoon and 6 in the evening.
That's very true. That's very true. Have you ever been a mentor?
Yes, I have been, and I find it to be quite rewarding, and the program could always use additional volunteers. We need additional support, but the government, through my administration, provided an array of services through our Recreation Department, the Police Department, the Health and Human Service Department, all working collaboratively to, in effect, provide the services that our young people need. In fact, the program is really a very award-winning program. Several years ago, I received a national award. When students come to my office, I show them this award because it's on a Wheaties box. Normally on a Wheaties box you have an athlete, but the Wheaties, the foundation, is the sponsor of the program, and so the winners they place on a Wheaties box. So I have a Wheaties box with my photograph on it. That's one of the proudest photographs and awards that I've ever received.
I've seen that photograph, by the way. It is nice. It really is nice.
Great.
If you've just tuned in, welcome to Montgomery Mosaic. We're honored to have as our guest Montgomery County Executive Isaiah Leggett. Let's switch gears just a bit and talk about the budget. You just released your FY15 operating budget on Monday. What can residents expect this year?
Well, first of all, it's a very large budget. It's right at $5 billion. The budget of Montgomery County is larger than at least 6 or 7 states. Well over 1 million people in Montgomery County, covering 500 square miles. So people don't realize how large it is, so forth. But the challenge for us in Montgomery County is to make certain that we have budgets that are sustainable. When I first arrived, we were simply in an unsustainable mode.
Right.
We are now in a position where Montgomery County has the highest financial reserves in the history of the county. That's one. Secondly, we've been able to produce over the last few years $320 million that we've provided from the county that have leveraged 9,000 affordable housing units in Montgomery County. That's an astounding number. But the biggest focus of the budget, over half the budget, goes to education. And we decided this year to go above the maintenance of effort level, additional $26 million. So the school's budget of that $5 billion is $2.16 billion. That's a huge investment in our young people.
Yes.
So it's focused toward education, toward libraries, help for the most vulnerable within our community, transportation. But the biggest chunk of that is increased emphasis on education.
County Executive, over the past 7 years, you have faced unprecedented budget challenges, closing more than $2.7 billion in budget shortfalls. Now, I know this wasn't easy and difficult decisions had to be made. What are you facing this year with the budget, and are you able to restore some of the programs that were eliminated in recent years?
Well, the budget this year, the future for the county is much brighter. I say now we have some light at the end of the tunnel. Now, I see a relatively small light. Many people who want resources from the county, they see a big light. We're going to emerge from this recession in a gradual, sustained manner, not to just jump and place us back into the difficult challenges we've had in the past. So we're restoring library hours. We're increasing the funds for education, increasing transportation, help for the most vulnerable, especially our seniors. We are building additional housing for seniors. So the emphasis of things which we cut in the past, we're gradually restoring. That will come over a period of time, but I think that we can get there. We didn't get there overnight, and we're not going to get out of it overnight. We're going to do it in a gradual, sustained way so we not get in positions where we cannot afford what we're doing. So the budget is much brighter than what we've had in years past. It's almost close to $3 billion of gaps that we closed. That was an unprecedented level of unsustainability that we had to close that gap. But we've done so, and we've come through it fairly well. Now, I have to say that the biggest hit to this was our employees who did not receive COLAs or furloughed for a period of time. We reduced the contributions on health and pension costs. I eliminated 10% of the entire workforce. A huge array of things that we did in order to get us to the point that we're in today. But very, very tough decisions.
Let's talk about the budget priorities in the upcoming budget. What are your priorities, and how are you addressing them in this budget?
Well, one of the biggest challenges we have in Montgomery County is our school system is growing by leaps and bounds. We are enrolling probably close to 2,000 students per year. And that has happened for the last 4 years, is likely to continue for the next 5 or 6 years. So over a short period of time, we will increase our student enrollment by about 25,000. That's more than any other place in the state of Maryland, larger than 4 or 5. That's a huge number. Yeah. Now, the challenge for us is to make certain we have the teachers, the equipment, the resources in order to accommodate that growth, as well as the space. So we're literally running out of space. So what we've done over the last 3 years is to try to partner with the state to get the state to contribute more. Montgomery County provides about 85% of that cost to build, construct schools, and maintain schools. Many other jurisdictions, that number is about 50-50. What we want is a greater share of the state resources to help us in our construction for the next 5 or 6 years. That will help us provide the space that we need for our students. So the biggest challenge for us right now, of course, is education and the capital side of education, and of course transportation. We receive probably close to $1 billion from the state to help us in our transportation challenges, but we still need much more. But it allows us to at least start on many of the transportation projects. So I would say education and transportation are the two things that we're trying to address in this budget, but we need the state help in order for us to get there.
You're listening to Montgomery Mosaic. I'm Deborah Milo, here with Ron Thompson, talking with our esteemed guest, County Executive Isaiah Leggett. Mr. Leggett, last month you held a news conference with the Chief of Police and the state's attorney to announce a drop in the major crime in 2013, which was amazing, actually. What are some of the factors that have led to the drop in crime?
Well, despite the budgetary challenges I've talked about, whereby we have had very little growth in our budget over the last 7 years, one area, in addition to education, that the budget did in fact increase was the public safety sector. The budget of the public safety increased by approximately 28% over the last 6 or 7 years. That's a significant growth. I decided a few years ago to increase the size of our police force by 143 additional personnel, 120 police and 23 civilians to support our police department. As a result of the increased resources we have in terms of the personnel, more creativity, greater use of technology, we've had a significant reduction in crime. The reduction in crime in Montgomery County is 3 times larger than the national average. That's an astounding number that we have.
Yes.
And I think we can do even better because any crime in the county is one too many. But I think that we could do better, and I'm committed to making certain that we fulfill all of those personnel requirements that I've indicated, and we're pretty close to that right now.
Just like you mentioned, you've made public safety a priority during your administration. Do you attribute your investment in public safety a major factor in crime reduction, which you just talked about? But what about education, crime education? Do you think that by putting more and more police officers out there on the street, do they get an opportunity to go into the schools and talk about safety issues?
Well, you cannot have effective policing without community policing. And so you need the police to be an integral part of the community. You also need the police to be in the school. And so we've increased the resource officers in the school system itself.
Great.
And so the combination of having police to work much more closely with students, to have students feel as though they are part of the community. One of the good things about our community is we're quite diverse. We have people literally from all over the world.
Yes.
And so some people come to the county not with the kind of cultural connectivity with police that many in the county already have. And
Very
so
true.
part of the education is to let people know that the police is here to protect and to work with you. It's not a threat, and that you should participate and act aggressively with the police in terms of embracing them in your community. Because in some communities, police are feared. They are really very repressive in other communities, but in America, especially here in Montgomery County, we work with our police, and we want to encourage all of our residents to actively engage with the police.
That's so positive.
In case you just tuned in, this is Montgomery Mosaic. I'm Ron Thompson along with Deborah Milo. We're talking with Montgomery County Executive Isaac Leggett. Now, let's talk a bit about the Family Justice Center in the county. It was established in 2009 to provide necessary services for victims in one location, reducing the number of places a victim has to go to receive services. Why was opening this facility so important to you, and how has it helped victims in Montgomery County navigate the criminal justice system?
Well, first of all, we need to take a step back, because the first thing that any community should do is try to reduce the number of victims, to try to educate our community and prevent the kind of violence that goes on in many of the families throughout our community. That's the first step. The second step, if we have it, then we should make it much more conducive for people to bring complaints, to feel safe, and to engage our community in a way that they should. Oftentimes, in many other communities, when you have an act of domestic violence, the community and the law enforcement, all the systems that work in order to help protect the victims, collide. You have people going to court, you have people running into each other in all kinds of ways that are not familiar for them, and therefore it creates a dilemma. How can you get to the sources that you need when people do not have transportation? How can you bring family members in? How do you feel safe? So by providing one roof, so you go one place, one location, and receive all of the services, it reduces that burden and allows the people to, in effect, engage in that center in a way that the typical criminal justice system does not provide. So people feel safe to bring the complaints. They receive all the services they need. They are protected in many ways from the abusers, and they get the kind of treatment that I think that provides them with kind of dignity and respect that they deserve. That system works very, very well. It's all under one roof, all the services that you need, and is designed to help protect those who've been victims of domestic violence and other family abuse.
Let's talk about the challenges you see for Montgomery County in the upcoming year. What do you see as the county's biggest challenge?
Well, of course, we always need more money.
More money. Everybody needs that.
But I would say that if you look at the county in terms of dollars, as I indicated, I've just presented a $5 billion budget, but the share of taxes that people pay in Montgomery County from 2007 to today have actually gone down by 10%. So the taxes that residents pay in Montgomery County as a share of their income is 10% less in 2014 as it was in 2007. Yet and still, we've been able to provide a county that maintains its AAA bond rating, a county that now has the highest financial reserves in the history of the county at 8.4%. We built 9,000 affordable housing units. We are building and providing somewhere in the neighborhood of 100,000 jobs in Montgomery County. But the key to that, and the challenge for us, is always financial management and budget sustainability. If you don't do that right, then all the good things we talked about in terms of additional police, schools, road, transportation, environmental enhancement, help for the most needed, if you don't do that right, then you're going to undermine everything else. So the big challenge for us is to maintain that balance of budget sustainability going forward. It is not an easy proposition because there are tremendous needs that are out there. It is difficult on occasion to say no to people that you can't do certain things, but that's the key to it, Ron. If you are able to maintain the financial, budgetary sustainability, then you are able to do all the great things that are out there that people want us to do. But you have to do them gradually. You have to make certain that you are sustainable, and you must respect that balance that people are willing to pay, but they don't want to feel as though the services that they're receiving or what government has provided is being wasteful. So that's the biggest challenge there. Now, underneath all of that are the things we talked about before, like school construction, transportation, and help for the most vulnerable within our community.
Can you talk for a minute about the initiative program you had working with young students and the opportunities that you're providing for them to work in the
through the disabilities or through internship programs?
It was through the internship program.
Right. Well, here are a couple of things the county's done, and I think we've done very well. One of the biggest challenges for our young people today is that they cannot make the transition from a high school, transition into job, into college. And so as the economy has, in fact, turned in a negative manner over the last few years, jobs for young people are just simply at a premium. So as a result of that, we provide additional internships and mentorships for young people in the county. We've also extended this through collaboration with some of the schools in the county. And we've extended this to include young people with disabilities, so that now there's a program called Program Search that would allow people with developmental disabilities to work for the county. In addition to that, we passed a law last year that now would allow for people with developmental disability to have certain preferences for working with the county that they did not have before. So we are trying to provide after-school programs for our young people, make certain that we have a quality education for them, but also mentorship programs, work programs, internship programs, all designed to help them to make that transition.
I'd like to go back to talk a little bit about the county's Positive Youth Development Initiative. Can you share a little bit more about the types of things that young people can really engage in with this program? And I know that you personally have really done a lot to bring this forward. What kind of positive steps do you see young people making with their grades and just learning about the overall culture of the county?
Well, let's take one program in particular. It's called Excel Beyond the Bell. And Excel Beyond the Bell is a program designed to help kids after they've completed the normal school day. In that program, one of the biggest challenges we have is, now you had kids who've been in the classroom all day, and so it's hard to keep them seated behind a desk 4 or 5 hours after that period of time.
Right.
And so what we do is to provide them with snacks in the afternoon, transportation so they can get to and from their places of where they live, and we provide them with homework tutoring and some athletic or craft building, so that you go in, there are cooking classes, there are dancing classes, there are athletic classes, all designed in the schools. Now the challenge for us is that you can't provide this at every school at this point in time. And what I've decided to do, that we will gradually move forward school after school after school, and we're targeting right now the middle schools, because the middle schools are the schools for which the students are old enough to appreciate the programs, need the help, and are about to transition into high school. And you want to catch them before they've gone too far and develop habits about the time frame that we've talked about, 4 to 7.
That's right.
And to give them this wholesome environment. The additional challenge to that is that you simply cannot stop during the normal school year. So we've extended this right on into the summer as well. But there are other programs that we're working on that are not directly part of the Excel Beyond the Veil. I provided somewhere in the neighborhood of $2.9 million, I think, in additional grants to other smaller programs that are not part of the Excel Beyond the Veil program, but also help young people as well. They go from nutrition to food, to across the board of other programs that people have. Private foundations are providing some additional support for young people as well. So the combination of what we do with Excel Beyond the Veil, the Positive Youth Initiative program directed by the county, as well as what we provide in grants to other community organizations, all designed to help those young people through that transition.
You're listening to Montgomery Mosaic with Deborah Milo and Ron Thompson, and we're talking to County Executive Isaiah Leggett, and we're actually talking about some really positive programs that Mr. Leggett has out there for the youth. Mr. Leggett, speaking of youth, do you think that summer school is a good option?
Yes.
I know that's a very single-sided question.
Yeah. No, it's a good option, especially in a competitive environment. I just returned with 90 residents from Montgomery County businesses from China.
Right.
The competition when I grew up as a young person was basically the kids in my block, on my block, maybe within my town. The competition for what is happening for this generation and for future generations is literally around the world. And around the world, they take education very seriously.
Right.
They engage with the entire family. They're very productive in how they provide the educational resources, and it's a premium. And so if you're competing with people from India and China and other places around the world, in South Korea and Ireland, those school systems are designed to maximize the potential of the young people. They are creative, they are very well managed, and for us to assume that kids, 6 to 7 hours a day, taking all the holidays, excluding all the snow days that we've had far too many. And then you're going to compete with people who are putting in 8, 10, 12 hours in some type of education environment.
Right.
And they're doing that virtually year-round with the commitment and dedication that they have. That's a hard proposition to overcome. And so I think we need more academic rigor, we need more time, need more equipment and resources in our schools in order for the American students to be competitive. Now, what happens, you may take the top of our students, and they are capable of competing across the globe with virtually anyone. But if you take the rest of them, and we have a large number of additional students, they're not at that level. And so it goes hand in hand with how do you close the achievement gap?
Right.
How do you become much more competitive around the world? How do you develop the next level of jobs and work for our young people? You have to be more competitive. And I'm a strong believer that you need to go to school almost year-round. You may have some time off, but not the entire summer where you're simply not being productive.
I was trying to recall the program you talked about earlier, and it dealt with Homeland Security.
Okay.
You had a program that you talked about where students, if they lived in Montgomery County, that there was this Homeland Security training. Do you recall that?
Yes. Yeah. We have a program whereby young people are actively engaged with the Homeland Security operation in Montgomery County, and it engages them in a variety of areas. But there are several others as well. But it helps them to learn training for jobs, give them an opportunity for internship. But if they're not interested in that aspect of it, there are other things that they could do as well. We have programs within the police department. We have cadets. We have programs from the fire and rescue department. And all of those things are going very well. Let me add one component that we've talked a great deal about young people, but Montgomery County has a very large senior population.
Glad you said that.
And one of the things that we have the challenge in Montgomery County, we're growing very young, with very large numbers of young people, and very old at the same time. Our big challenge is those people in between. And far too often we're losing many of our young adults to other communities because we do not have the kinds of activities, the kinds of jobs, the kinds of transit-oriented development many of our young people want. You know, they want to be able to walk to work, they want to be able to catch the metro, they want to be able to go and do much of the things that they normally do without the necessity of a car. And so I put together what is called a nighttime economy task force designed to help inspire nighttime activities, build around transit-oriented development, to make certain that we are retaining those young people between the ages of 25 to 40. Far too many of them are outside of Montgomery County. We want to keep them. They are educated in Montgomery County. They go off to college, and oftentimes they do not return until they're much older. We want to keep them at that age range as well.
Now, that sounds exciting, but unfortunately, some of us don't fall between that age gap anymore. Well, as always, Ron, this has been another great show. Mr. Leggett, we can't thank you enough for joining us today. Are there any other comments that you'd like to make, such as about your vision for the county?
Well, the vision for the county is really designed toward the future in areas like cybersecurity that I think would be a cutting-edge industry for Montgomery County, as well as continuation of biotechnology. But the key to all of that, again, is make certain that we have the budgetary sustainability to assist much of what we want to see happen in the county.
Ron, we've learned some important facts about the county, and we want to thank our guest, County Executive Isaiah Leggett.
Thank you.
Join us again next month at the same time for another engaging show on 1415 WOL, WPRS, HD2, and worldwide on WLDCnews.com. Until next time, stay inspired.
You've been listening to Montgomery Mosaic, featuring topics of interest to Montgomery County residents, businesses, and visitors. For more information or a copy of the show, email public information at montgomerycountymd.gov or call 240-777-6507. Be sure to tune in at this time every month on the third Wednesday for Montgomery Mosaic on 1450 WOL, WPRS, HD2, and worldwide at WOLDCnews.com.